Okay, we're starting on our third assignment for Module 2, and I'm going to jump right in here. This assignment is titled Curtain Wall and Wall Sweeps. So we're going to be adding all of our divisions and mullions to our curtain wall that we placed last project. First thing I'm going to do is, while I'm working in this, I like to be on consistent colors. That's the view control bar, and then your visual style consistent colors. I just think it's easier to work when I can actually see color differences between materials. So the way that curtain wall works, or I should say the generic curtain wall that we've chosen to create our windows with, is that the first thing we do is place a curtain wall panel, basically a panel of glazing. This is just one giant piece of glass, and we did that last project. The next thing we need to do is divide our curtain wall up using grid lines. Let me show you here. So we go to the Architecture tab, and it's called Curtain Grid. And we have to divide that panel up first, and then we can add mullions to the curtain grid. So it's sort of a three-step process: the curtain wall, the curtain grid, and then the mullions. So I'm going to start here by placing curtain grids. When you go onto the curtain grid contextual ribbon, you'll see that we are going to create all segments. So what that means is we are going to cut this from one side of the curtain wall to the other side, basically with a big line. So if you look at the north elevation for our final deliverable, you can see that we have the second floor divided into 4 equal verticals and 5 equal horizontals. So what we're going to do is simply place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horizontals. Actually, we only need 4 to create 5. And again, I'm just placing them in there, not worrying about where they are yet. I'm going to go back to curtain grid, and to place the verticals, you hover over the top or bottom. To place the horizontals, you hover over the left or the right, or somewhere close to the left or right. So now I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. So now I've divvied up my curtain wall into all these different segments. Now I can use the dimension tool, and I am going to dimension from the face of this curtain wall to each of these grid lines, again using one total dimension. Now don't worry too much about getting to the face here or here. We really just want to make sure that we get equal segments no matter where we're going from. So we're going to click the equals toggle on that dimension string that we just placed. And now we have 5 equal windows. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to select that and delete it. Now when we get this warning, I've talked about this before, it's basically saying that you're only deleting the dimension, you're not deleting the constraints. If you hit OK. If you hit unconstrained, it's going to do both. I'm going to say OK and leave that constraint there. Now I'm going to do my verticals. I'm going to pull this string out because I actually do want to leave this one in place. So I'm going to dimension from the top of the opening down here, and look at that, they're actually already equal, but I'm going to hit the equal sign. So now I've got my curtain wall divvied up just the way I want it. So the next part of the curtain wall system is to create mullions. So now we can go to Architecture, Mullion, and we are going to start by doing the corners. And for the corners, we want a 5 by 5 corner. We're going to hover over the corners. Now I'm getting a warning. A corner mullion has been placed at the end of a curtain wall that is not joined to another curtain wall. The angle of the corner mullion will default to 90 degrees. Sometimes you get this if your curtain walls do not join exactly. It depends upon how you drew them. So I had a little bit of trouble when I was drawing this curtain wall. So I'm jumping to the second floor plan now so you can see this. What's happening is it's not automatically trimming this curtain wall up because this curtain wall does not technically join this curtain wall. You can simply fix that with the trim command, TR. I'm going to hover over the center line of the curtain wall and the center line of this curtain wall, and you see how it fixed that now. So that warning was just for this one location, and we fixed it. So now we're going to go back to the north view, and we're going to go back to mullion, same 5 by 5 corner, and I'm going to place that here. The rest of my verticals are going to be 5 by 5 as well. So we're going to go mullion, but this time we're going to find the 5 by 5 square, which we do not have. So what we need to do is find a rectangular one. We're going to go 2.5 by 5. We're going to edit type, rename. We're just going to call this 5-inch square. And the thickness is going to be 5-inch. The width is divided in half because the mullions always happen on a division line, a curtain grid. So we need to go half of 5 inches, so 2.5 inches on one side and 2.5 inches on the other. And this will give us a 5-inch by 5-inch square mullion that is centered on the curtain wall grid. Now, if you come up here to your placement button, you'll see that you can do just one grid line segment, like that, or you can do an entire grid line, like that, or you can do all grid lines like this. Now, since our verticals are different than our horizontals, we're going to choose grid line, and we're going to click all of those. Hit escape, and now we're going to place our horizontals, which are 2.5 by 5. Now I thought 2.5 by 5 was in here, but apparently it's not. So let's duplicate, and we're going to say 2.5 inches by 5 inches, rectangular. Yours may be in there. I have a feeling that I did something and renamed one. Oh, that's what I did. I renamed. I did not follow my best practice, which was to duplicate the last one, and I simply renamed it. Instead of duplicating, I would have had this one in there already. So now I'm going to go 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. That's what happens when you don't follow your rules. So now we've got that, 5 inches, good to go, hit OK. Now we can hover over the horizontals. Now notice that the horizontals are broken. The verticals are continuous. There's all sorts of rules on how these get set up by default. Typically the wider ones will be unbroken and the narrower ones will get broken. Now you can change this. If you select a mullion, you'll see these little symbols here. If you just click on that symbol, it changes how these break. But for now, that's exactly what we want on the second floor. To do the first floor, it's very similar. We're going to go to curtain grid, and now we should be able to kind of pick up on that. There we go. On what's above. It doesn't always work. And we're also going to place the horizontals. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, these did not get aligned to what was up above. It looked like maybe one of them did. So what we're going to use is the align tool. AL. I'm going to hover over the middle of this to get the grid line. And I'm going to see this one was just a little bit off. So then I'm going to align that. Right immediately after I click the align tool, I get this little lock icon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock that. What that means is that the divisions here were driven by the equals dimension that we created. But now we're going to drive the divisions down here by locking them to the ones above. So I'm going to do that again. Align there, lock it, align there, lock it, and align there, and lock it. Then I'm going to throw another dimension string in here. Looks like these, no, those weren't quite equal. And then I'm going to place mullions. Once I have those placed, I'll come back for the next step. So if we look at, if we look at our final deliverable, we can see that here is the main entrance to our building. So what we're going to do, and I just realized that these two lines shouldn't be there. I'll have to fix that. You can see that the door is centered on this mullion, and this is a 6-foot door. So what we need to do is add a new curtain grid here and here. And if our door is 6 feet wide between the mullions, and a vertical mullion is 5 inches, we need half of our door, which is 3 foot, one leaf of the door, plus 2.5 inches. So 3 foot 2.5. So we can throw a dimension string down here to drive these two lines, and we're going to call that 3 foot 2.5 inches. And select that line, and 3 feet 2.5 inches, so that these mullions, these grid lines I should say, are in the proper location. Now we're going to place, you'll notice I also left out this vertical mullion. That's because now I'm going to place the 5-inch square mullion, and I'm going to choose grid line segment, and I'm only going to choose that one, and then I'm going to jump over to these. And if you select this grid line, you can come up here and say add remove segments, and then click on the segment that you want to remove. That's what I failed to do the last time. I'm also realizing that I screwed this up. I am not supposed to have that one there. This comes down, so mullion, grid line segment, that comes down to there. Again, I can select this, say add remove grid lines, and delete that line. That's the thing that I forgot to do for my final deliverable. We'll come back in the next video to finish this curtain wall up.